Hey everyone, we have a special X4 Foundations video for you today. EGOSOFT posted a poll to their Twitter account about mining. You can find a link to the poll in the description of this video. The poll consists of only one question, but it gives a lot of background about recent mining changes and what they want to do with mining in the future. Mining is at the heart of the X4 economic system. Besides what the universe starts out with, everything requires raw materials to be built. They all need to be mined except for energy cells. So mining and any changes to it are pretty big in the scheme of things. I highly suggest you check out the poll. It is pretty good reading, and it's always good to make your voice heard. I'm just going to cover some of the highlights and my opinion on what should be done, for as much as that's worth. So some of the recent changes that are mentioned in the post are the speed of mining now takes skilled crew into account. I didn't realize that, actually. I need to look into how much that affects the crew. That could account for a lot of the slower mining that I've seen in my game. Silicon mining will now take longer. It isn't really discussed what makes it take longer now, whether it's the mining itself or they lowered the density or what. Miners will only use resource probes if they actually offer a better density in the surrounding area. I'm a little confused about that one, but that's something that's going in the next beta. So we're getting at least one other beta. So expect resource probes to change up a bit. They really want to make resource probes important, is the impression I'm getting. Mineral depletion will now happen faster and replenishment will be slower. This means mining operations will be more dynamic and less fire and forget, as you may need to shift them around to other sectors. Now that's an interesting change. The mimic command will help make this a lot easier, as it makes it very easy to move a fleet between sectors and continue the same mining if all the subordinate ships are using the mimic command. I wonder how the AI will handle this, though. I'll have to take a look. High traffic mining areas are now more of a target to hostile forces like the KHK. I have seen this in my recent games. They are quite a pain now, and I had to move a bunch of ships to provide cover for my mining ships. So that's kind of interesting. There a lot more action in some of these sectors where you mine a lot. Many of those changes I just mentioned are already in the game. They are now considering another pretty big change. Basically, they want to move the more profitable mining regions away from the main highway route in the kind of center of the galaxy. For example, Argon Prime is a pretty lucrative mining spot, as I'm sure many of you know. If this change goes through, this would likely no longer be the case. They want to move those kind of regions into the rim, let's just say, if you like Babylon 5. So moving them out from the main industrial areas, which, kind of makes sense. That's kind of how it always is. The raw materials are on the periphery or out in the wild areas, and the industry and things are more towards the center. The effect of this would be longer travel times and higher risks to your mining ships. So that's the question they're asking about. I'm definitely curious to what you guys think, so leave your comments in the comment section. I think the goal of making mining more interesting is a good one. However, I'm not sure this change alone would accomplish that. One positive about this change is that it would encourage building stations outside the normal highway sectors to collect and refine the minerals. And with the recent change in the Beta 7, where mining ships can now trade raw materials, the concept of having a mining outpost may actually be important. So you can build mining stations to collect all these goods and then have traders bring those raw materials elsewhere if you want to. Right now, the need to do that isn't huge. This might make more of a need to do those outposts. And I also worry a little about the early game experience with this change. Earning money to bring on miners is a popular strategy to gain funds at the start of the game. This change might make that less attractive, especially if you don't have pilots who can trade across sectors due to lack of skill, which no one really does in the early game. Have anyone who can do pilots that can do anything other than sector auto mining. So I worry that this change might make mining in the early game, other than manual mining yourself, difficult. So hopefully they'll keep that in mind if they do make this change. So here's what would make mining interesting to me. The need to prospect and find high-value areas in which to mine. This would have to be different for each game, not just within the sectors themselves, but throughout the universe. So the ice mining, let's say you need a lot of ice, and it's always in Sector A. It shouldn't always be in Sector A. Now, this becomes difficult when balancing all the factions because they all need basic access to things. But where the high-density, lucrative mining things should change and add some discovery aspect in the game. Since raw materials are so useful, factions should be concerned about securing them for their own miners. This should result in fighting over resources. I don't really see this happening much now. So I think this would require factions to be more dynamic at their strategic level. But that would definitely make mining more interesting if, the Argonne really wanted this lucrative mining area and they tried to take it, whether from my faction or from one of the major factions. I would also like to see some rare raw materials that are useful. Invidium, I know I'm saying that wrong, isn't particularly useful to anyone but the player. Finding a spot where these rare raw materials spawn should be an exciting moment for the player and important to whomever you want to trade it with. So I'm kind of thinking like oil, uranium, I don't know, some useful raw material that is pretty rare. So finding a spawn of it is kind of a big deal. And think kind of strategic resources in the Civ games. Things like that where they are important to factions and important to find and important enough to fight over. So that's what I think. I will likely vote yes to this change. I just hope that they keep expanding on it with suggestions similar to the ones I mentioned. Of course, I'm not a game designer, so my suggestions may not be great ones, but I would just like to see more interest around mining, not just where to find it. I think there could be a lot more done to make mining make the universe a more interesting place due to mining. So that's what I think. What do you think? All right, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to go vote. I'll talk to you later.